Over the generations, the path of Alaxan has led the Altmer to perfect their smithing skill, but their desire for excellence stretched into every aspect of society, from blacksmiths to chefs. The Altmer cuisine is quite exquisite, even if the dish is considered plain. It is fit for an island-bound nation to have wide variety of seafood on their menu, but the most exotic of them would be the turtle stew. Of course, you would not miss fish, mollusks, crab meat, and even crayfish prepared in various ways, steamed, boiled, or fried. For meals, the Altmer enjoy a variety of meats and vegetables, but are perhaps the only culture to feast on peacocks, either as meat being part of a confit or the whole bird being served as a roast. Rabbits are a common game on the island, and their meat is used to make meatballs, which can be baked into a savory pie, or the rabbit can be part of a 100-year bisque, along with corn and jaspy grapes. Altmer also have their summer sausage, which is made from white seasoned meat and melon, a real taste of the fruity cuisine of the Isles. Pork is another popular meat in the Altmer kitchen, usually roasted whole. While meat is in high demand, the Altmer also eat a lot of vegetables in forms of soups, usually eaten with bread, or raw as salads dressed with vinegar, or if you are rich, fine wine. For dessert then, the candied nectar bread is a sweet treat, as well as is honey pudding. Now that I have made you all hungry, let me make you thirsty as well, and let's discuss the drinks. Altmer use isinglass to clarify some of their beverages, for example coffee or whiskey. Probably the most iconic drink hailing from Somerset would be the Golden Pear Ale, which is delightful and popular but hard to come by outside the Isles. There is one drink, however, that I would warn you not to drink: the Furalian Musk Wine. This potent wine is made from fruit and corruption magic. Allegedly, it is enjoyed by Ogrim and harvesters, so that alone tells you enough to avoid this drink. Of course, as with everything the Altmer do, their table etiquette is far from simple. There is quite a lot of rules, and it is easy to be perceived as barbaric. Never refill your own glass, never look at another attendee as they are eating, do not eat more than the most prestigious member of the party. These are only few of the rules, not to mention the plethora of various utensils, but they are important nonetheless. Now, let's discuss the architecture of the Isles. Starting with their earliest ruins such as Torinan, the remains tell us quite a lot. The Altmer prefer the use of white granite from local mountains to build geometrical settlements and strongholds. Usually they had a main circular outer wall denoting the border of the settlement, which could stretch far underground. Most of the time, in the center of the ruin, one would find an entrance to the underground. The Altmer, it seems, favored spiral steps leading into the catacombs, and tall archways, of which many stand to this day. The remains of walls dividing the cities into districts would suggest that they liked their environment organized and planned its development carefully. In the subterranean halls, tall columns support the ceiling, but the archways are still to be found. Heavy ornamental braziers and chandeliers remain in the dusty tombs. These ruins were built by newly arrived Altmer, and so are very focused on defense and practicality. The ruins of ancients that are found around Somerset are more of the artisan type. Round colosseum-like structures, bridges, round watchtowers and tall columns denote the style. The ruins of Ordon are rather plain, the stones smooth, but to contrast that, the ruins of Somerset are rich in murals. The column's capital was finely adorned in various patterns, the walls and balustrades were decorated in fine details. The ruins still can have extensive underground, but a big portion of the settlement was constructed above the ground. In both islands, one can find the glowing blue or orange crystals. These were invented or discovered by the Aelids, and since they can be found in both Aelid and Altmer ruins, most likely before they broke off from the crown of Alinor, they prized starlight above all else and gathered these fragments fallen from the firmament and used them to store raw magica descending from the heavens. These Aelids seem to have favored the blue Welkend and white Varla stones, while the Altmer have made use of them too, as well as the Colanda and Malondo stones, which have a warm orange glow to them. They were used to illuminate the underground passages of their cities, and they could provide energy to a spellcaster in a moment of need. These crystals have fallen from the sky, but clusters of them have been found in various ruins, seemingly growing and multiplying by themselves. The craft of making them is long forgotten, but the reservoir of power within them are still waiting to be tapped, just as are the arcane wells, always built outside in open areas. These stone altars are gathering energy from the stars to this day and can replenish the pool of magicka of an exhausted wizard. Modern Altmer architecture still differs between Oredon and Somerset. While Oredon shields the rest of the province from any unpleasantries coming from the continent, their style is more focused on durability. They still use the white stone and cover the buildings with dark wood roofs. The structures are tall, often with multiple floors. Tall arch-shaped windows give a good view of the area. The most noticeable feature of the building is their roofs, made in a very distinct way. On the sides of the structure, the roof extends into an overhang, which drops down to the sides of a building like curtains. In the Somerset, the modern cities are built in a different style. The dwellings feature many narrow but tall towers, like fingers reaching up to the heavens the Altmer claim to originate from. These towers, near spire-like, make the city's skyline to resemble a forest. Staying true to their past, one can see the similarities between ancient Altmer ruins and modern Altmer cities. Just like the stone remains, in the cities one can find the round forums supported by tall columns. They still fancy the same archways they built when they first settled Oredon. In fact, the windows in houses often have that shape, with stained glass decorating the abode. Winding staircases lead to different levels of the city, and the bigger towers are sometimes fitted with artisans. Altmer enjoy mastering flora as much as fauna, and so many trees and shrubs are cultivated in the cities, adding more charm to the already breathtaking cities. For last, let's talk about their religion, a topic so important to all the races. The Altmeri faith revolves around the ancestor worship. In the olden days, that meant they venerated their fathers and mothers, grandparents, and so strived to surpass their achievements, to also be remembered and respected by the new coming generations. But not every family or clan had forebears worthy of admiration, knowing that their lineage reaches back to the old Elnathe who gave themselves into making the world, and with time they began worshipping the general ancestors of the race, those most deserving praise, the Aedra. It is an elven concept. Literally it means our ancestor, but there are cultures like Saxley or Khajiit to which these terms are meaningless. To clarify, for Altmer there is no distinction between god and ancestor. The chief deity of Altmeri pantheon is Auriel. He is the soul of Anuiel, who in turn is the soul of Anu, the very basic primordial force composing all of existence. He was the first at Ada to coalescence, and with his consciousness awakening, time began, which allowed other spirits to form. He is the king of gods, but also the god of time, and is usually depicted as a golden-skinned Mer holding an hourglass, but most Altmer associate eagle as a symbol of Auriel. While the eagle symbolism is very prominent across all aspects of Altmeri culture, and it is the influence of Auriel, sometimes he is depicted as dragon, for just like him, these beings are timeless and royal. Mara is the goddess of love, maternal bonds and bearing offspring. She is the patron of fertility, blessing both the womb as well as the fields to bear bountiful fruit. She is compassionate and caring, and does not like it when ill fate befalls her people. She is depicted as an Altmer woman holding a knotted rope, or as the rope itself looped at its ends tied together, representing the tight family ties and marriage bonds. She encourages the Altmer to live peacefully and humbly, in sobriety and dignity. They also worship Jeffre, the god of the wild, the forest and the meadows. They call him the first Elnathe, believing him to be the first to give himself to creation. He is also the god of songs, music and storytelling, and so is represented by a lute, and the Indrics are believed to be his sacred animals. Magnus is represented as the astrolabe, a device used by sailors to track the movement of celestial bodies in order to navigate their ships. He is the architect of our world, a grand designer of Mundus. He is the god of Magica and is most venerated by wizards and mages. The next Aedra is a controversial one. See, Stendar is a god of mercy, pity, but also the god of righteous might. His teachings instruct his faithful to be kind and generous, provide shelter to the weak, food to the hungry, ointment to the sick, and fiery wrath to the undead in Daedra and lycanthropes. He is called an apologist of men. Rather than loathing them for their association with Lorcan, he pities them. He views men as weaker, spiritually poorer beings than Mer, and wishes to understand them and comfort them in their misery. Because of the care and generosity he preaches, he is represented by an overflowing cup. Trinimach is the warrior god. He was the paragon, the righteous knight. Was, I say, for he is no more. In the Meretic era, he led armies of Mer against men, and it was Trinimach who defeated Lorcan and ripped out his heart. He believed that the answer to sundering was sorrow. When Velotimer desired to endure hardships of life with pride, he protested. For all the self-pity and regret he forced on the elves, Boethia humiliated him in front of many, including his own devotees. This encounter had left Trinimach corrupted and changed him into Malakath, a petty and vengeful god of outcasts. Ironic as it is, he himself is an outcast, even among the gods. The Aedra no longer speak of him, and other Daedra do not consider him their equal, and Altmer do not worship him anymore. His shrines linger still, a reminder to the dangers of Daedra worship. Back in the day he was represented as a sword. The last of Aedra, who is also an Etada, is Xerxes. He is the god of lineage and deeds, achievements and history. The long-living Altmer do not like to acknowledge their own mortality, and so Xerxes is the closest they have to a death god. He once was Oriel's scribe and was keeping record of all Aldmeri histories, big and small. In time, the traditionalist Altmer began worship him nearly as much as Oriel. This is because of the focus they put on family tree, ancestors and social status. He encourages Altmer to read, and so he is represented as a book. Last spot among the 8 divines is shared between Finaster and Cyrabane. Those two deities are interchangeable in their pantheon, and both are Aedra, but not Etada. They are both respected, admired and mortal Mer, who lived in ages past, but have left big enough imprint on the pages of history that the Altmer placed them among the gods. Cyrabane is called the warlock's god, the god of magic, but unlike Magnus, who is god of the Magica, the energy radiating from Aetherius, Cyrabane is a patron of magic users. It is no surprise he is held in such high esteem by the magically inclined race as Altmer. Finaster, on the other hand, taught the long-living Mer to live even longer by shortening their stride, and so he is represented by Boot. Obviously, the elves are grateful for delaying death a little longer, as their mortality is a reminder of how low have they fallen from their divinity. Speaking of their lifespan, the Altmer believed that after death their souls returned to Aetherius, seeing it as paradise lost that they desperately crave to return to. Therefore they abhor the idea of summoning the soul of deceased from their promised land or preventing them from reaching it. As such, necromancy is illegal and severely punished in the Somerset Isles. Upon death, the bodies of Altmer are cremated. The urns containing the ashes are placed in mausoleums where entire families can rest eternally.